This episode, you will hear more about Leila Boukarim and her wonderful work. Leila was born in Lebanon. She was raised in several countries, and she recently moved to Germany, to Berlin, after 8 years in Singapore. She has two sons, Alex and Luca. They're almost 12 and 8, together with her husband, Haik. Leila spends her time writing stories that encourage empathy and meaningful discussions between children and caregivers. She started writing a blog about the joys and challenges of parenting a highly sensitive child. And she has also written two self-published picture books for highly sensitive children, which have been recommended by Dr. Elaine Aron and Dr. Ted Seff. Leila was later fortunate enough to work with publishers such as Marshall Cavendish, Penguin Random House CEA, and Chronicle Books. So enjoy! Here is Leila Boukarim. Welcome, Leila. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, even the summit time is self-discovery time, right?
It is.
Yeah. I loved your reaction when you were open to having a conversation about the interview for the summit. And then you said...
Why me?
Yes. Exactly. Who am I to speak?
Yes. Yeah, that's often the first question that pops into my head when I find myself in these positions. It's something that I can't help. It's happened to me every single time since as far back as I can remember. Of course, it comes from a place of self-doubt and fear and sadly, I always feel like there are so many other people that are in a better position to talk about a specific topic. Even, no matter how much experience I have, it never feels like I'm the best candidate for the job. It's something, though, that I have come to recognize and thankfully to manage. And I think this is one of the great advantages of getting older, is that you get to know yourself better. And you learn from your experiences that you can actually do a lot more than you give yourself credit for. Sorry.
Yeah. I know that there are many, many highly sensitive women and men who can totally relate to the sentence, "Who am I to speak?"
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think this is more common to sensitive people who tend to be quite introspective, and with introspection comes self-doubt, right? And when you spend so much time inside your own head, these fears tend to surface.
Yeah. And you shared with me that you were born in Lebanon, and I was already curious, how is high sensitivity perceived there? How was it? What was it like for you as a child?
I did not grow up in Lebanon, so I did not have that experience per se, but I did move back to Lebanon when I was a teenager, and that was quite difficult. And Lebanon, as you know, is a country that's been through so much, and so people are tough. They have had to learn to be tough, and understandably so, right? And so it almost feels like there's no room for sensitivity, and sensitivity often is perceived as weakness, quite unfortunately. And so as a mother, I have seen children being told to pull themselves together and, toughen up and just do what needs to be done, and their feelings being completely disregarded, which is heartbreaking. Even I myself have been told as a grown-up to just toughen up and go along with whatever comes my way. And while that may work under circumstances when you don't really have any options, it is not ideal, and it is not ideal for a sensitive person.
So I heard the word heartbreaking, and I know that you create from the heart, you share from the heart with all that you do. Was there also a time that you could not speak from the heart or share, totally be open to share from the heart?
This is definitely not something I have always done. I only began this kind of work when we left Lebanon and moved to Singapore. And in Lebanon, I didn't really have the opportunity, and also I didn't feel like I had the space, or allowed myself even the space, to share openly and create. And I remember specifically my journey as a mother, and with my struggles with my son, who is highly sensitive. I felt like I couldn't always be truthful and open with what we were going through, because I felt like the response would not be what I needed. And often, whenever I did try to reach out, I was met with blame and accusations that perhaps I was responsible for whatever he was going through. And so very quickly I learned to shut down and to keep everything to myself, which was very difficult.
Yeah. What responses did you get?
You spoil him. It's because of you that he is like this, and you need to teach him how to be tougher. And he's only like this because you allow him to be. And so when you hear this often from people who are supposed to be close to you, and people who, love you and want what's best for you, you start to believe all of these things, and you start to blame yourself. And that's something very difficult to come back from.
Yes. Yeah. That can feed your self-doubt and blaming yourself even more, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I felt like a complete failure as a mother. My heart broke for my son, and when you think that it's your fault that he is the way that he is, you are filled with despair and helplessness, and it just makes the journey so much harder than it needs to be.
Yeah. Especially when you feel that you're isolated, that there are no other parents out there. When you think, do I have the only child that, like you shared before, and when you think, well, the world might be a very scary place.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Both my husband and I were absolutely convinced that we were the only parents who had a child who was the way our child was. It felt like no one out there could possibly understand. And no matter how hard we tried to find others in the same situation, we couldn't. And to this day, I'm not sure if it's because there weren't any other children at the time who were like this, or that parents simply hid the truth from others, that they maybe were also afraid to be blamed for the way their children were. And so we did feel very isolated as parents, and we found ourselves socializing less and less with others because we weren't understood. And the less you socialize, the more you close yourself up, the scarier and the lonelier the world becomes. You really do feel like you're all alone. And there's nothing scarier than that.
Yeah. So what was the moment that you heard of the wonderful work of Dr. Elaine Aron?
Oh my goodness, yes. The moment was surreal. I mean, even now when I think back, it feels like a dream almost. It was such a pivotal moment in our lives. And it happened accidentally. I was looking for something online, and I stumbled on a book review written by a parent who clearly was very relieved to find that her daughter was not the only child out there who was like this. And so I stopped at this review and my jaw dropped. I could not believe what I was reading. This lady was saying that her daughter hated birthday parties and she hated noise and crowds. And she was also convinced that she was the only kid like this. I mean, what child hates birthday parties, right? It was unheard of back then. And so I clicked on the review and found that she was talking about Dr. Elaine Aron's book, The Highly Sensitive Child. I ordered it immediately and dived right in. And our lives changed. Everything changed. We changed. I could feel myself change as well when we finally began to understand why our son was behaving the way that he was and why he would react the way that he would. I also started to understand myself and why I was the way that I was. And I also discovered that I wasn't shy per se, and that is the label that was given to me all my life, a label that never really fit. And so our world turned upside down. Really, everything changed in that moment, for the better, of course.
Yeah. So how did it transform your family's approach to parenting?
Well, we relaxed, first of all. We relaxed. We were no longer worried that there was a serious issue that needed to be addressed. And that already takes so much pressure off. We also changed our expectations. We stopped pushing our son to be a certain way to fix the problem that we thought we had caused. And by giving him space, we noticed very quickly that he felt safer and he felt braver and started to push himself to, be stronger, to try harder, to try again if he failed the first time. When we gave him space, he started to grow. And that was everything. Witnessing that was magical.
Our children mirror us. They teach us a lot. What have your children taught you that was really beneficial to you as a highly sensitive woman?
Oh, they have taught me and they continue to teach me, really. I will talk specifically about my highly sensitive boy because I didn't give him enough credit at the start. I thought he was a scared child. I thought the world would be a scary place for him. But really, he turned out to be a lot braver than I gave him credit for, and a lot braver than me, even. His perseverance has always been inspiring, and his fearlessness, and he really is fearless, is inspiring. He's not afraid to try over and over again. He's not afraid to make mistakes. And that's more than I can say for myself. He definitely inspired me to be stronger and braver and to take more risks. And he taught me that making mistakes can be very educational. It allows for growth. The thing that my son taught me was that sensitivity is a strength. It's not a weakness at all. I even call it a superpower. And I really do think that it's the highly sensitive people of our world who will change the world for the better. And I can see it with my son. I can see the impact that he has on others, the impact he has on us as well, his parents. He lights up every room he walks into with his enormous heart and his empathy. He's so caring and so loving and always wants to help. He wants to make others feel better. And I think that's just beautiful. He's always there for everyone. Even if it takes energy, right? For him to be there for everyone, it's what also brings him most joy. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's those people who will change the world.
Yeah. So when he was really brave and showed up, took that mental leap and stretched, you did the same in the publisher's world, because you had something that wanted to speak from the heart, and you went into the publisher's world. And well, we know that when you enter the publisher's world, there's also a lot of rejection that you have to deal with.
Yep.
What was it like for you as a highly sensitive woman to step into that world, to show up and still deal with rejection?
It was terrifying, and it continues to be terrifying. And really, I don't think I would have done it had it not been for my son. I am actually convinced of this. I wrote my first story for him because I wanted to help him. I wanted to inspire him. And he's always been someone who's loved to read, who's loved to be surrounded by books. And I thought that by writing him a story that might resonate with him, he might find comfort, right? In knowing that he's not alone in his struggles. And when we see that, when we see characters who are like us, when we see ourselves reflected in the pages of our books, we draw strength and inspiration to keep going. And so really my first story came I wrote my first story to help him. And when I found that he reacted positively to it and asked me to read it again and again, I decided to take that leap, even though I did not know anything about writing picture books, about publishing picture books. I decided to give it a try because I really had nothing to lose. And so this was brand new for me. I learned so much. I had to teach myself so much, of course, because I was starting from scratch. And he was the one who inspired me to do it. Not only to write stories for children like him, but to be brave, really, to spread my wings and just go for it. And the rest is history, right? I mean, 8 years later, almost 9 years later, I am proud of how far I've come. It's something that I never would have thought myself capable of doing what I actually did. And it's thanks to him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. Did you ever think as a young, sensitive girl at the time that you were going to be an author?
No, there was a time when I loved poetry and I would try and write it until I was too scared to write it. And I think this happens with many young people, unfortunately. Life happens and we kind of were told to put all of that aside, creating art and having fun to make room and to make time for the more serious stuff, right? That better prepares us again for life, which is completely untrue. And so I really did put all of that aside for so long that I had forgotten how much I used to love it. And it all came back to me when I decided to take that leap and go for it.
Yeah. So there were also times when the rejection felt really harsh, really hard. Who were the people, or what helped you at the time to deal with it? In who were there?
Rejection is something I continue to deal with on an almost daily basis. And it is painful. It's something that does not really get easier. It's difficult every single time. And really, it's my community of writers and illustrators, of creators, who help me remember why I do this, and who remind me that I can do this, and who give me strength to go on. It's all about community, with the writing and with parenting and with everything else. It's other people who are going through what you are going through, and who are willing to be there for you, who care enough about you to be there for you through thick and through thin.
Yeah, I thank you so much for doing that, because of that, so many parents and children were really benefited from your books. And what were the most inspiring reactions or responses that you've received?
Well, it's those reactions actually that also help you to keep going, and that help remind you why you decided to do this in the first place. Receiving messages from parents who thanked me for giving their kids a chance to see themselves reflected in their books meant everything to me. And really, I do believe that if through your work you've changed just one life, then you've succeeded. And I'll never forget one lady in particular I met at a book fair where we had a stand and we had our books, and we had this banner of our first character, Oliver, who's shyly hiding behind a tree and smiling. And this lady was drawn to the banner, and so she came to us, and with her eyes fixed on Oliver, she asked us, "Can you please tell me what you ladies do here, and tell me about this boy?" And when we started to talk about our work, she began to cry. And this was such an emotional moment for all of us, for me, for Barbara, the illustrator I've worked with for 8 years now, and for this lady and her sisters who were there with her, as she began to tell us about her life and her journey as a woman, as a mother, and her struggles to find answers. And this was the moment where she realized that she was not alone, and that her son was not the only one who was like this again. And it took her that long. Her son was a teenager at the time, so he was already grown, and she was so incredibly grateful to finally know that this was normal, that there are others out there, and that they, as sensitive people, are understood. And that was everything. That was everything. And so when I visit schools and talk to children, and they ask me if I'm a successful author, I tell them about this moment, and I tell them that this, to me, is what success looks like: touching the lives of people, and giving them the answers that perhaps they have always been searching for.
Yeah. I love observing when highly sensitive people bring their life's work out into the world. And the whole journey is so special. And especially like you said, a journey without a destination.
Yes, that's right. A journey of self-discovery. And we're continually learning, right? It doesn't stop.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So thank you for inspiring us. With all the beautiful things that you have written, the energy from the heart and that you want to share, and for continuing, especially so. So is there something that comes from the heart now, at this moment, that you really want to share with other highly sensitive women?
So if there is one thing that I can say, really, it's that you are not alone. Sometimes, often, actually, it feels like we are. It feels like we're completely alone, that no one will understand, that there can't possibly be anyone out there who might share our struggles. But that is not true. There are others out there who will understand, and the only way you can find them is by reaching out, is by sharing your own journey, by sharing your own stories. And you will find, I have found anyway, from my own experience, that whenever I did this, it almost feels like the universe opens up and sends the right people my way. So don't be afraid to reach out. You will find your people out there. You will find that others do understand. And when you find those people, you form that community that makes the whole difference. Community is everything.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Leila.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the wonderful work that you do also, and for bringing us together.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's also from the heart.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I am a highly sensitive woman and grateful for it.